A few years ago, the next heir to the Vale family walked away from his position, as dawned to plunge into the entertainment industry. Possessing staggering talent, he had already become the most sought-after breakout director of the moment. Yet, alongside Ronan Vale's sheer brilliance came his notoriously sharp tongue and savage wit. Upon hearing that his new film was about to start shooting, fans of every stripe flocked to the comments to pitch their favorite idols. But he only replied to my fans with a single line, over the top and melodramatic, "Don't desecrate my art." Those few words thrust me right into the crosshairs of a massive internet storm. The irony? I was actually his wife. Legal. Faced with the overwhelming onslaught of abuse online, I clutched my phone, my voice trembling. "Why?" Ronan knit his brows, scanning me up and down. "You usually play pretty useless ornaments, and just because your brainless fans praise you, you actually take them seriously? Which part of you fits the criteria for a leading lady? Scarlet, don't try to fit in where you don't belong." Seeing me drop my head in silence, he finally softened his tone like he was granting charity. "Alright, we'll talk about it next time there's an opportunity. Same old rule. Don't contact me while I'm filming." 5 years of a secret marriage, and what he left me with was always next time. Even though he knew perfectly well that I had cleared my entire schedule just for his new movie. A notification popped up right on cue. A rising starlet was leaning against his arm, making a grand appearance at the opening ceremony. Staring at the smiling Ronan on the screen, I lowered my head and fired off a message to another account. "Send me that script of yours again. Let me take a look." "Ronan, I'm done playing along with the script of your life. I'm no longer your leading lady. I'm going to be the main character of my own story." The opening ceremony livestream was still running when a reporter immediately raised a hand to ask a question. "Rumor has it that director Ronan is notoriously strict. Bianca, is this your first time working with director Ronan? Are you nervous?" Bianca glanced up at Ronan first before offering a shy smile. "Strict? I think he's fine. Maybe some people who find director Ronan hard to get along with are just fundamentally unsuited for him." Her insinuation was so blatant that even the drama-loving entertainment reporters froze for a second. Yet Ronan remained completely silent, never offering a single word to defend me. Bianca addressed the camera graciously. "Director Ronan actually sent this script to me 6 months ago. Our ideas clicked instantly. I'm confident we can deliver an outstanding piece of work to everyone. See you at the theaters." Clutching my phone, I froze in shock. 6 months ago. Back then, I had just finished a grueling 3-day 2-night shoot. I dragged my exhausted body home, only to find the floor covered in discarded drafts and overturned coffee cups. Ronan had looked up from the sea of crumpled paper, his eyes burning with an intense fire called ambition. "Just wait and see," he had said. "This new film will sweep Hollywood." Back in college, Ronan used to have that same fierce look in his eyes when he held my hand and made a solemn vow. "Scarlet, before your 30th birthday, I will make sure you take home an Orient Award with my work." The Orient Awards, the highest honor in the cinematic world, and my ultimate dream. So when I heard his new movie was entering production, my heart swelled with joy, thinking he had finally remembered that old promise. I turned down all work for the latter half of the year, keeping my schedule wide open, just waiting for him to say the word. It wasn't until today that I realized his choice from the very beginning was never me. While managing the negative press about me, my agent, Mavis, snatched the phone out of my hand and let out a ruthless sneer. "Scarlet, is this guy really your husband?" I couldn't help but look down with a bitter smile. When Ronan wasn't famous, he refused to go public. He said he wanted to stand proudly by my side with a new status one day. Now he had become the sharpest calling card of the Vale family, and a breakout director coveted by Hollywood. Yet every time I brought up going public, he would only frown. Next time again. Just how many more next times were there going to be? You're turning 30 soon. Stuck in no man's land where everyone mocks your lack of acting skills. Do you plan on spinning your wheels in reality shows for the rest of your life? Mavis glared at me, exasperated that I wasn't putting up a fight. The sudden ring of my phone cut off her lecturing. Ronan's cold face appeared on the screen. "Director Julian has a new project. I got you a cameo. I've sent the script over." I tapped it open and skimmed a few pages. Unsurprisingly, it was another uninspired eye candy role. Standing among a crowd of men, responsible for looking pretty and making the male lead story look complete. I took a deep breath. Ronan, I don't want to take this. Ronan's expression darkened. Then what do you want? The leading role? Scarlet, look at your own image. Can you stop chasing these unrealistic dreams? I was left speechless. Because of my striking looks and curvaceous figure, I was dubbed Hollywood's luxury doll. To put it nicely, I was a red carpet darling. To put it bluntly, I was just a trophy. Over the years, every single role that came my way was the same. The mistress, the beauty, the pretty wife, mere ornaments in a man's story. Once, I gathered the courage to approach a production myself, only for the director to laugh in my face. Scarlet? Quit joking. That face of hers belongs on a mantelpiece. I couldn't help but laugh mockingly at myself. Ronan, in your eyes, I'm only fit to be a decoration for the rest of my life, aren't I? I'm turning 30. If I don't land a real role soon, my career is over. Don't forget, I'm an actress. My dream. He cut me off ruthlessly once again. Then stop acting. A dream is different from a delusion. Bianca's voice drifted over from behind him. Ronan, it's time to head over. He shut off the camera, leaving me with a final line. The role is yours. Take it or leave it, but don't look for me again. The call disconnected. Mavis took the script, glanced at it and hesitated. Director Julian's movies always do well at the box office. Maybe just go show your face. Seeing my silence, she spoke up anxiously. What else can we do? You cleared everything for Ronan, and now he gave the lead to Bianca. Are you really going to sit at home and watch everyone else strip away your resources? I took a deep breath, pulling out the other script I had just received. No. I'm taking this one. Mavis sat with me in the coffee shop, opening her mouth to speak for the 6th time before stopping herself. A wartime espionage thriller, first billing female-led. Scarlet. These terms are so ridiculously good that it feels like a beautifully packaged scam. As she spoke, a director timidly poked her head into the room. To everyone's surprise, it was a female director. Nora laid the script on the table and gave a shy smile. My mentor sighs every time he sees me, saying things would be better if I were a man. He says it's too hard for girls to direct. Well, I refused to believe that. She looked up, her eyes incredibly bright. Anything men can do, I can do better. I looked down at the script, falling silent. It wasn't just directing. The entire entertainment industry operated this way. Men were responsible for ambition, while women were responsible for beauty. Men's stories were hailed as epics, while women's pain served merely as an embellishment. Even Ronan had expressed disdain more than once, claiming that art was meant to be this way, and that roles were defined long ago. Back then I opened my mouth to tell him he was wrong. Humans are the creators of art. We shouldn't be bound by rigid frameworks. Art can be molded into whatever shape you hold in your heart. Nora looked up at me cautiously. Miss Scarlet, you are my idol. You are the only Sable Row in my mind. Mavis held her head high with pride. Haha, our Scarlet has quite a portfolio. Which of her works do you like the most? The moment the words left her mouth, Mavis felt a pang of awkwardness. After all, it had been a very long time since I had a decent project. But Nora replied in earnest, the girl named Suri. I froze. When I was 17, I was accepted into Westbridge Film Academy. By then, Ronan was already a star student in the directing department. He had approached me out of his own accord. Hey, I'd like to invite you to be the leading lady in my graduation film. The Girl Named Suri was where Ronan's dream began. It was the first leading role of my life, and the witness to our love. I thought it was just the beginning of our collaboration, never imagining it would be the first and last time. During my sophomore year, I skyrocketed to fame after a photo shoot went viral, earning countless beauty-obsessed fans. Meanwhile, after graduation, Ronan lost the aura of a campus golden boy and realized how harsh reality truly was. Because he insisted on breaking into the film industry, the Vale family froze all his cards, and making movies was nothing short of burning through cash. So I took on one empty eye candy role after another, making a fool of myself and laughing on reality shows, enduring the mockery that I had no real work, only red carpet looks. I used my own face, my buzz, and my reputation to buy him breathing room, securing his very first capital for creation. Finally, he hit the jackpot and became an overnight sensation. And then, what he left me with was merciless ridicule. Scarlet, you don't actually think you can still be called an actress, do you? I let out a bitter smile, offering a gentle reminder to the director in front of me. Though I love this story, I must remind you that my current public image is, well, terrible. Plus, I haven't acted in a serious project for years. Are you certain you want to choose me? Nora simply shook her head, her voice firm. I believe anyone who could play the lead in The Girl Named Suri can achieve anything. The official announcement of the movie sparked an uproar. The angry comments from fans nearly drowned me alive. I'm so done. We've been tearing into Bianca's fandom for so long. And while she gets announced as Ronan's leading lady, you pick up whatever garbage this is. Sister, you're turning 30 soon. Can you stop being so reckless? I see zero benefit in taking a movie from a director like this, other than being mocked by your rivals. Ronan is gunning for the Orient Awards, and you're doing a low-budget wartime film with a female director? Scarlet, wake up, will you? Ronan called me late that night. Scarlet, what are you thinking? Drop out now. I'll cover your termination fee. I'll speak to director Julian again, and you can join his set next week. I took a deep breath. No. I'm acting in this movie. He let out a cold laugh over the line. You throw away the opportunities given to you. Don't ever come crying to me about how wronged you feel again. Later, when an entertainment reporter visited Ronan's set, they intentionally brought me up. Ronan spoke coldly to the camera. Desperate for fame, resorting to any means necessary. I will not work with an actor like that. Gossip accounts immediately jumped on the bandwagon. Sharp-tongued Ronan slams Scarlet. The battle for the next generation starlet has already been decided. Bianca sets her sights on the Orient Awards. Scarlet's new movie announcement invites ridicule. One step behind, always behind. That evening, Bianca pretended to accidentally like one of those posts. Once again, I was pushed into the line of fire. But I didn't care about any of it. I simply kept studying my script in silence. Only Mavis gave me a hesitant look. Scarlet, our filming location overlaps with Ronan's crew. We're right next door to them. The crew arranged accommodation at a designated hotel. The moment we got our room keys, Mavis's expression soured. It's bad enough their set is right next to ours, but we're staying in the exact same hotel? I smiled faintly, dragging my suitcase into an elevator that was about to close. Van. The words died in my throat. Inside the elevator stood Ronan and Bianca. His hand moved away from the door button, but he didn't spare me a single glance. Instead, Bianca offered a half smile. Scarlet, what a coincidence. Looking forward to working with you. Though her words were polite, her eyes carried a smirk, as if reminding me that this was Ronan's territory. When the elevator reached their floor, Ronan Vale stepped out with long strides, Bianca following close behind. Right as the doors were closing, I caught the faint sound of her whispering something. The next second, Ronan laughed. It was a laugh I hadn't received in a very long time. At 10:30 that night, while I was quietly reading my script, Ronan showed up uninvited. He sat on the couch, casting a casual glance around the room. The accommodations aren't bad, he remarked offhandedly. I didn't answer. After a few seconds of silence, a trace of impatience crept into his voice. Quit that movie of yours. Our awards season release windows overlap. Scarlet, do you honestly think that hiring a fresh female graduate lets you go toe-to-toe with me? I dug my nails into my palms, refusing to back down. At least this time, I didn't want to be condemned to death by him before even stepping onto the battlefield. Ronan sighed, his tone softening a fraction. Scarlet, you really don't match the image of my leading lady. Is Julian's project not good enough? If you think the screen time is too short, I can talk to him again. As he spoke, he reached out, trying to drape an arm over my shoulder just like he used to. But I abruptly spoke up. Did you change your cologne? Ronan was a mad genius with impeccable artistic instincts, but a total train wreck when it came to basic daily life. Over the years, I had personally taken care of his clothes, food, and travel, to the point where I noticed the shift the moment he stepped into the room. Ronan frowned, sniffing his collar. It's a brand Bianca endorses. I just tried it on a whim. What about it? I took a step back, slipping out of his reach, and curled my lips into a self-deprecating smile. Nothing. I won't drop out of the movie. It's late, Director Ronan. You should head back to avoid any unnecessary misunderstandings. After all, you're a big name now. I wouldn't want to clout chase. Ronan's expression twisted. There you go again. Did I say anything wrong? Scarlet, do you even know how to act anymore? You don't honestly believe those fans calling you beautiful, or a couple of brain-dead cameo shots count as acting, do you? Look at Bianca's success, and then look at where you are at your age. Forcing down the urge to cry, I cut him off. It's not that I never had opportunities. Do you really not know why I ended up this way? Ronan's face turned livid, and he slammed the door as he left. I wiped the moisture from the corners of my eyes and picked up the script that had fallen to the floor. The pages fluttered open, landing precisely on one of Sable Rose's lines. Being looked down upon isn't terrifying. What's terrifying is the day you start believing them. After the official shoot began, the two sets were separated only by a narrow alleyway. Coming out in full makeup, I could see Ronan and Bianca sitting side by side in front of the monitor in the distance. He leaned in close to murmur something to her, and she gave him a playful shove, laughing. Mavis rolled her eyes beside me. Unbelievable. The nerve to get all cozy with someone else's husband in front of so many people. Without giving them a second glance, I turned toward my own camera position. Over the next few days, I threw my entire soul into the character. Lines, positioning, glances, breathing. I had no energy left to waste on Ronan. Yet on Ronan and Bianca's side, new photos of their encounters surface daily. Director Ronan personally coaches Bianca. Dynamic duo shows flawless chemistry on set. The genius director and his rising muse, Hollywood's most anticipated pair of the year. I didn't click on a single link. On the rare occasions we crossed paths on set or at the hotel, I merely gave a casual nod as a greeting. I overheard some staff whispering, Scarlet must still care about what Director Ronan said in that interview. For a man to say that publicly is pretty harsh. I simply smiled, offering no response. Who could have guessed? The two people who looked like absolute strangers were actually a couple married for 5 years. Until one night, Mavis burst into my room, her face pale with rage. We have a problem. She handed me her phone. The headline occupying the #1 trending spot cut into my eyes. Ronan Vale and Bianca Voss spotted entering a hotel suite late at night. Secret romance exposed. Mavis looked miserable. After hesitating for a few seconds, she spoke up anyway. Scarlet, whether it's true or false, just ask him. He's right here. I looked down at my silent phone. The news had been out for hours, yet Ronan hadn't sent a single text. He didn't even deign to explain things to me anymore. Mavis opened her mouth, but ultimately just let out a heavy sigh. Before long, she violently hurled her phone onto the couch, gritting her teeth. Those bastards pulling this kind of stunt on us? I opened my phone, only to see that the public narrative had somehow flipped upside down. Someone leaked a story claiming that the woman caught in the photos wasn't Bianca, but me. Bianca and I were of similar age, build, and type, and we had long been labeled destined rivals. Now public opinion shifted entirely, claiming I was throwing myself at Ronan, willing to sell my body just to secure a role, even going so far as to book the exact same hotel. Bianca just happened to post an update on Instagram right then. Instead of wasting time on cheap tricks, try improving yourself. The post practically reeked of gunpowder. Mavis was shaking with rage. This was absolutely orchestrated. Who the hell is out to destroy us? Ronan's call finally came, long overdue. I'm sorry, Scarlet. This movie is crucial for me. My leading lady cannot be tainted by negative press. I felt as though I were listening to the world's biggest joke. So what? You let them dump this pile of garbage on my name instead? Do you have any idea what people are calling me right now? His voice carried that familiar, grating impatience. You're an influencer celebrity. Getting slammed gives you engagement. Other people would beg for that kind of buzz. Besides, a few insults from netizens won't kill you. Fine, if the backlash gets out of hand, I'll just make our marriage public. Will that do? Holding the phone, my heart turned to ice. I had asked to go public so many times in the past, and he had refused every single time. He said the timing was wrong, His career wasn't stable, and the Vale family wouldn't accept an actress who did nothing but walk red carpets. So many excuses, yet none of them held up against protecting Bianca's reputation. No need. I hung up. The moment the screen went dark, my eyes caught a line from the script. The protagonist, Sable Rowe, lets out a disdainful smirk. The most worthless thing in this world is a woman's devotion. From that day on, Ronan practically vanished from my life. I refrained from responding to any of the online chatter. No clarifications, no crying out for sympathy. I just wanted to focus entirely on delivering a solid performance. As wrapping up neared, Nora's complexion grew worse by the day. I originally intended to submit this film to festivals and push for an awards season release. But now, all the distribution and marketing arrangements we agreed on have fallen through. My heart sank. Ronan and Bianca carried massive star power. Not to mention the weight of the Vale family and Vale Pictures backing them. His films were always a staple for the awards circuit. Many production houses would actively move their dates to avoid a head-on collision with him. It was only natural that distributors wouldn't prioritize us. Nora hung her head. To ensure the quality of the film, we poured all our funds into production. We don't have the money to handle marketing ourselves. Looking at her bloodshot eyes, I said firmly, "It's fine. I have the money." She looked up in a daze. I patted her shoulder with a smile. "This is our collective lifeblood, isn't it? Besides, I believe that if we clinch an Orient Award, sponsors will come knocking on our door themselves." Just as Nora looked visibly moved, a mocking voice echoed from behind us. "You think you're going to the Orient Awards? You're daydreaming." Ronan marched over with long strides. "Scarlet, I don't care if you buy luxury bags or jewelry, but you cannot waste money on something this pointless. I don't approve, do you hear me?" I looked up at him. Since our bitter parting that night, this was the first time he stood so close to me. No pleasantries, no asking how I was doing, only accusations. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. "Ronan, I earned that money, so I should have the absolute right to spend it as I please. If you don't agree, we can always get a divorce." Ignoring the stunned expression on his face, I turned and walked away. I had compromised so many times before. I wasn't going to lose this time. Win or lose, I was going to fight this battle myself. The Orient Awards ceremony was set for July. I walked into the venue alongside Nora, squarely throwing back my shoulders under the gaze of the crowd. The venue was filled with mocking looks. An eye-candy actress? A fresh graduate director? A low-budget independent women's film? How could they possibly make the cut for the Orient Awards? Nora had done an exceptional job keeping things under wraps, waiting until today to release the official stills and the first teaser trailer. Online forums were already exploding, though I remained entirely oblivious. Sitting in the row behind us was Ronan's crew. I knew his gaze was fixed intently on me, but I didn't turn back. I simply squeezed my fingers together, letting out a long breath. I wanted to prove to everyone that Ronan's choice was wrong, that I wasn't a talentless ornament. More importantly, women should never be treated as mere accessories to men. Up ahead, the massive screen was about to light up, and the golden trophy of the Orient Awards glittered beneath the spotlights. Looking up at that gleaming prize, I grasped Nora's hand. "Are you ready?" The venue of the Orient Awards was a sea of brilliant lights, and I could distinctly hear my heart pounding like a drum. They say a nomination is a victory in itself, but I knew that was far from enough. We had sacrificed more than a little for this film. It was Nora gambling with her debut feature. It was me risking my entire career. And it was about proving a point when everyone else declared it impossible. Up on stage, the host was reading out the nominees. Alongside our film, The Last Vessel, was Ronan's movie Silent Confession. A thin layer of sweat coated my palms. Nora squeezed my hand tightly. Her fingers were just as icy, but she flashed me a smile. "Scarlet, regardless of the outcome, making it this far with you is already enough for me." Just as I was about to speak, the screen suddenly dimmed. The nomination reel for Best Actress began to play. Bianca's clip appeared first. Her performance was packed with emotional intensity, and her breakdown scene was undeniably commendable. Unfortunately, Silent Confession focused heavily on the male lead. No matter how brilliantly she shone, she was ultimately just a foil. The audience erupted into a wave of applause and quiet chatter. Bianca is decent, but her screen time is a bit limited. Feels like a nomination at best. She won't take the award. But Scarlet. They kept the last vessel under such tight wraps. What did she even play? The screen went black and lit up again, and my face filled the display. In the film I portrayed dual roles, two women with identical features who, separated at birth, grew up on vastly different trajectories, becoming entirely distinct individuals. The protagonist, Sable Rowe, is a singer in an underground jazz club. She has no formal education, cannot read, and harbors no grand ideals or ambitions. She simply wants to stay fed. Yet in the end, to shield her comrades, she smiles radiantly while nestled in a military officer's embrace, her fingers steadily reaching for a pistol hidden within the folds of her long gown. Just when everyone assumes she is nothing more than a beautiful plaything, the next split second she pulls the trigger. In the footage, Sable Rowe stands on stage under dim, amber lights, wearing a scarlet dress, tears pooling in her eyes as she smiles and finishes her final song. The scene cuts and the other protagonist, Vera Rowe, stands on a rain-slick street late at night as gunfire echoes in the distance. Her eyes are rimmed with red as she catches that final farewell, but she doesn't turn back. Clutching the canisters of film to her chest, she steps through the mud, walking steadily toward the faint glimmer of light at the edge of the city. The exact same face, yet two completely distinct human beings. Even without dialogue, it was all there in the eyes. One was a sharp edge forged from surviving in the dirt. The other was a burning faith ignited in the dead of night. The whispering in the back rows stopped instantly. People began shedding their prejudices, truly looking at this dark horse film and the actress who had long been the target of public criticism. When the reel concluded, the entire hall fell into a stunned silence for 3 whole seconds. Then, it erupted into a thunderous standing ovation. I instinctively looked back, locking eyes directly with Ronan. His eyes held confusion, conflict, awe, and finally sheer shock. It was as if, at this exact moment, it finally registered for the first time. The woman he had personally cast aside was his ultimate leading lady. The award presenter stepped gracefully to the podium. A sudden warmth flooded my eyes. It was my former acting coach from Westbridge Film Academy, the one who had once generously praised me as a natural-born actress. Later, caught up in the tide of commercial buzz, I had been too ashamed to visit her. Standing proudly at the podium now, she spoke softly. The recipient of this award happens to be a student of mine. I once felt a deep sense of regret, knowing she was capable of far greater things. For a time I feared she had given up on herself. But this performance proves she remains that same girl who holds fast to her ideals. The Best Actress of the 37th Orient Award goes to Scarlet, the Last Vessel. Nora leapt out of her seat, throwing her arms around me as her voice shook. We did it, Scarlet. We actually did it. Go on up there and claim your trophy. I stood up and walked toward the stage. Every single step felt like treading over the mockery, the humiliation, the cold shoulders, and the lonely nights when no one believed in me. As the spotlight bathed me in light, I accepted the heavy trophy, and the tears finally broke past my control. Taking a deep breath, I spoke softly into the microphone. A lot of people used to call Scarlet a trophy actress. The auditorium fell completely silent. Hear it long enough, and you almost start believing it yourself. Because no one wanted to give me a chance and no one believed I could actually act. Even the person closest to me told me there was a fine line between a dream and a delusion. But one person told me that anyone who could play the lead in The Girl Named Suri could achieve anything. Nora, thank you. Thank you for trusting me with Sable Rowe and Vera Rowe when absolutely no one else believed in me. Before I turned 30, someone promised me he would use his work to help me hold this very trophy. I waited a very long time, but it never came. Today I am 30 years old. I finally understand that instead of waiting for opportunities, it is better to rely on yourself. No amount of hard work or genuine devotion in this world will ever be truly wasted. Every hardship will ultimately transform into a gift that belongs solely to you. I hope everyone finds themselves, and I hope every woman lets her own light shine. Looking at the roaring applause from the audience, it felt as though I were looking at the radiant version of myself from years ago. As the ceremony wrapped up, the room boomed with applause. I could see Mavis in the crowd, her makeup completely ruined from crying, yet she was cheering for me at the top of her lungs. By the time I made it back to my seat, My phone was absolutely blowing up with notifications. Between the movie's marketing push and the win, I knew the internet had to be in a total frenzy. I didn't open any of it, choosing instead to quietly cradle the trophy close to my chest. The feel of the cold metal pressing against my palm made reality finally sink in. This time I had truly won. During the after-party following the awards, Ronan somehow managed to weave through the crowd and step up beside me. He stared at me, remaining silent for a long moment before finally speaking. "Scarlet, I didn't know." I held my champagne glass, my tone perfectly even. "You didn't know what? Didn't know I could act? Or didn't know I could deliver a performance like that?" He knit his brows slightly. "You never told me your movie was going to be like this." I looked up at him, flashing a self-deprecating smile. "You never asked. You just told me I was useless, that I didn't have what it takes, that I belonged in trash roles. Ronan Vale, all these years have passed. Did you ever take my acting seriously even once?" His jaw worked, but no words came out. Nora's voice called out from behind him. "Miss Scarlet, the press is waiting for you." I gave a brief nod, stepping right past him. As our shoulders brushed, I caught his low whisper. "Scarlet, I'm sorry. I didn't look back." Some apologies simply come far too late. Footage from the Orient Awards spread like wildfire online, with 6 out of the top 10 trending slots occupied by topics relating to me. Hashtag Scarlet Orient Awards Best Actress. Hashtag Scarlet Sable Row. Hashtag The Last Vessel teaser. Once the official character stills and the trailer made the rounds, the comment sections went into absolute meltdown. Holy crap, this is Scarlet? That gaze completely killed me. Is this seriously the same actress everyone called a talentless hack? Playing dual roles and looking like two completely different people. I literally have goosebumps right now. Who was saying Scarlet couldn't act? This is phenomenal. She just never had a script that did her justice. Female directors truly know how to capture women beautifully. Sable's farewell shot is heartbreakingly gorgeous. Just a casual moviegoer here, but wow, this looks incredible. Honestly, putting that face into a role like this is pure perfection. The old Scarlet fandom is dead. Long live the Queen. You are out of everyone's league now. Going head-to-head raw talent talks. Can the other fandom stop trying to match our Orient Best Actress? Thanks. LMAO. Did anyone catch the look on a certain director's face? That felt so satisfying. I've been saying this forever. People mistake being toxic for keeping it real. Society is way too forgiving of mediocre men. Mavis handed me her phone, unable to keep from grinning from ear to ear. "Scarlet, look at this. Your endorsement rates have already tripled, and you have at least 10 scripts waiting for you to look through." Her excitement mounted as she spoke. "Oh, and the screening slots for The Last Vessel are climbing. The theaters that pulled out earlier are practically begging for prints now. Nora says we're taking Ronan on directly at the box office. Let's see who wins." I nodded. "Tell Nora not to put too much pressure on herself. Just do our best." Over the following month, The Last Vessel launched limited preview screenings, and the word-of-mouth reception absolutely exploded. Film critics came out in droves, declaring it the absolute best female-centered film of the year. One reviewer noted, "The Last Vessel doesn't rely on grand narratives or forced sentimentality. It simply breathes through the quiet story of two women. Yet within that quietness lies the raw struggle and resilience of everyday women." My mom asked why I was weeping like a baby, and honestly, The Last Vessel is just that good. Women are truly the treasures of this world. It's been years. It's finally time for complex female characters to take center stage. The box office numbers defied all standard trends, climbing steadily from a meager 10% opening theater allocation to a massive 35% within a single week. Meanwhile, although Ronan's silent confession pulled respectable numbers, the reviews were sharply polarized. Some critics panned it as cold and arrogant, a beautiful specimen designed solely to flex the director's technical prowess. Others pointed out that while Bianca's performance showed technical precision, it lacked the emotional resonance to truly move an audience. Ultimately, The Last Vessel cleared a staggering $280 million at the box office, completely eclipsing Silent Confession. It was a result absolutely no one had anticipated. At the wrap party, Nora, her face flushed from drinks, clung to my hand tightly. "Miss Scarlet, let's work together on the next project too. okay? I smiled warmly, agreeing immediately. Of course. Send over the script when it's ready. Mavis stood nearby, hesitating for a moment before finally letting out, Scarlet, Ronan. He says he wants to see you. On the day Ronan came to find me, Los Angeles was hit by a torrential downpour. I had just walked back into the hotel lobby after wrapping up an interview when I spotted him standing there, completely drenched from head to toe. Scarlet, we need to talk. I gestured for Mavis to head upstairs first, then walked with him over to the lobby cafe. Scarlet, I watched The Last Vessel. Your performance, it was brilliant. Better than any actress I've ever directed. I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. Ronan, don't you find it ironic saying that to me now? You told everyone that Scarlet couldn't act, that Scarlet was just an empty ornament. Now you turn around and tell me I'm brilliant. So tell me, were you wrong or was I wrong? He pressed his lips together, his face looking incredibly pale. I slowly shook my head. Actually, it's neither. The truth is simply that you never gave me a single chance. 5 years of marriage, for movies directed by you, for different leading ladies, and not once did you consider me. You told me I wasn't right for it, that my image didn't fit. But did you ever try? Did you let me audition even once? Ronan's face drained of color. Scarlet, back then I cut him off mid-sentence. You just never truly believed in me. I cast my eyes downward, my mind suddenly drifting back to when I was 17. The hallways of Westbridge Film Academy were weathered, and the sunlight outside the windows was dazzlingly bright. A young Ronan had stood before me holding a stack of scripts, his eyes alight with pure ambition and passion. Back then, the way he looked at me suggested I was the sole answer to his cinematic vision. Ronan Vale, shooting The Girl Named Suri with you at 17 made me believe we would be the most synchronized partners for life. If I had known we would end up like this, I would rather have never met you at all. But thank you anyway, for bringing The Girl Named Suri into existence. A trace of panic flitted across his expression, and he reached across the table to grasp my hand, but I pulled away. Scarlet, I know I messed up. I see it now, I was wrong all along. Can you please give me one more chance? The leading role in my next film is yours. I'll tailor it specifically for you. Whatever you want to play, we'll shoot it. Staring at his visibly frantic state, I let out a soft sigh. Ronan, you still don't get it. I have never needed handouts or charity from you. I am fully capable of fighting for my own opportunities and creating my own path. I don't need you anymore. He stared at me blankly, looking as though he had just taken a physical blow to the face. Without another glance, I rose from my seat. I'll have my lawyer draw up the divorce papers and send them over. Don't worry, I won't touch a single dime of your money. As I rounded the corner out of sight, I caught his reflection through the glass pane, sitting there looking utterly broken. My heart had once beaten frantically for his fiery brilliance. Now he possessed everything. Yet he was no longer the boy from all those years ago. A month later, Ronan still hadn't signed the divorce agreement. Instead, he went public with our relationship during a televised interview. Scarlet and I are married. Before the cameras, he looked visibly exhausted, with dark hollows under his eyes. We've been married for 5 years, and it was my stubbornness that kept it hidden. It was entirely my fault. I apologize for everything I said before. She is an extraordinary actress. A reporter pressed further. Does this mean you are currently divorced? Ronan cast his eyes down. I'm doing everything I can to win her back. The moment the interview aired, public sentiment took a massive turn. Wait, what? Excuse me, am I hallucinating in broad daylight? You're telling me she's your wife? You spoke about her with so much venom. I literally thought she was your mortal enemy. So was that whole thing with Bianca real or fake? Ronan, you treat your own wife with absolute cruelty, yet you seem awfully accommodating with outsiders. I used to think his sharp tongue was just him keeping it real, but now it's clear he's just a classless toxic man. My heart breaks for Scarlet, publicly humiliated by her own husband for 5 years, without him ever clearing her name while she endured endless cyberbullying. Scarlet, run. That man is absolutely not worth it. Bianca found herself caught in the crosshairs as well. Her agency scrambled to issue an emergency statement clarifying that the relationship was strictly professional, and had never crossed any lines. But the public flatly refused to buy it. When Mavis slid her phone over to me, I was relaxing with a face mask, skimming through a fresh script. She let out a massive sigh. Does he honestly think going public is going to make you change your mind? I breathed a quiet sigh, pulling up my Instagram to post an official statement. I want to apologize to everyone for the sudden news. Ronan and I were indeed married over the past 5 years, but that chapter has closed. Thank you all for your warmth and support. Moving forward, my sole focus will be on my craft and delivering the best performances I can. I wish Mr. Vale all the best in his future endeavors. Within 10 minutes of hitting post, Ronan's call cut through my phone line. Scarlet, why didn't I already admit my mistakes? Why won't you give me another chance? Holding the phone, I fell into a long silence. Ronan, did you even bother asking me before you aired out our marriage? You didn't. You're doing exactly what you've always done. Acting entirely on your own whims without ever considering my position. Is it really me you're trying to save? Or just your own bruised ego? Do you actually love me? Or are you simply unable to handle the fact that the person you always looked down upon is now far more successful than you? On the other end of the line, silence stretched out heavily. Let's just part ways gracefully. Just like the girl named Suri. Let it remain exactly where it belongs. 6 months later, the last vessel swept the major award ceremonies, taking home Best Picture, Best Breakout Director, and Best Actress. With that, I ushered in the absolute peak of my career. First came a small-budget road movie that proved wildly successful, demonstrating that road films weren't an exclusively male domain. Later, I signed on to a television series that was an unapologetically female-centric narrative. There were no plots requiring the heroine to step aside for a male lead, no storylines sacrificing a career for romance, and none of those tired cliches where a beautiful woman requires saving. Following the release of Silent Confession, Ronan dropped completely out of sight. The highly anticipated project he had been so confident about generated zero updates. Occasionally, he would still text me expressions of concern or remorse, but I never replied. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, I looked out over the dazzling Los Angeles night market. The lights of this city never truly went out, much like the relentless hustle within the industry. Yet some things were undeniably shifting. For instance, an increasing number of financiers were now eager to back female-centric cinema. For instance, more female directors were finally securing opportunities to be recognized. And for instance, I could finally stand proud and declare to the world, I am an actress. A pile of new scripts sat on my desk. After flipping through them, my choice settled on a specific one. The narrative took place in rural Montana. The protagonist was a woman who had spent her entire life within the confines of a rugged, remote town. She had little education, lacked classic beauty, and carried a distinctly weathered roughness. Yet, she protected her family, her land, and a home threatened by corporate acquisition in her own way. Initially, the project faced heavy skepticism. People argued that Scarlet's features were far too refined, claiming that forcing a red carpet queen to portray a dirt-streaked countrywoman would look completely unnatural. Even Mavis harbored reservations. Your position is incredibly secure right now. There's no immediate need to dive into this kind of experimental cinema. The risk factor is simply too high. But I merely shook my head. I want to try. A human life naturally contains endless possibilities. I didn't want to remain nestled comfortably within my well-established wheelhouse forever. Welcoming a fresh challenge, facing it head-on and conquering it. That was the ultimate joy of being an actor. On the first day of shooting The Wild Fields, I stood completely barefaced upon a stretch of cracked, parched earth. The crew members couldn't help but feel anxious on my behalf. After all, casting Hollywood's premier luxury doll as a struggling laborer trying to scrape a living from barren soil sounded absurd on paper. The shoot stretched on for 3 months. I stopped looking into mirrors, completely indifferent to whether I looked flattering on camera. Sometimes, waking up in the dead of night, a sudden wave of disorientation would hit me, making me feel as though I truly was that small-town woman who had never ventured beyond the horizon. She possessed no trophies, no red carpets, and no applause. She had only a pair of calloused hands and a piece of land she refused to surrender. When we finally wrapped production, the director treated the entire crew to dinner. Raising his glass, he spoke with absolute sincerity. When I initially approached Scarlet, it was strictly for her star power. But after completing this shoot, I can confidently say that absolutely no one else could have fulfilled this role. She wasn't merely acting. She inhabited that character entirely. Upon theatrical release, the film caused another massive stir. One review read, "Scarlet completely deconstructed her screen identity. You cannot trace a single shred of her glamorous persona. She truly became that woman enduring the elements, fighting for survival on her land without ever relinquishing hope." This time around, the trophy actress label vanished entirely. The following year at the Orient Awards, my performance in The Wildfield secured me another nomination for Best Actress. During the ceremony, the host turned to ask me, "2 nominations, 2 consecutive wins. Scarlet, what is the core message you want to share right now?" Clutching the trophy, I offered a smile. "You can be a pretty ornament, you can be a cabaret singer, you can be a revolutionary, or you can be a weathered woman holding fast to a piece of land without ever bowing your head. You can be whoever you want to be, as long as you dare to believe in yourself." The auditorium erupted into thunderous applause. I didn't spot Ronan anywhere in the crowd. Word had it that his new venture had hit roadblock after roadblock, failing to secure viable financial backing. The once celebrated genius director was gradually being phased out by the market. On my 33rd birthday, I stood out on the balcony alone, taking in the night view. An unfamiliar number sent a brief message to my phone. "Scarlet, happy birthday. You are truly extraordinary. I was never enough for you." Leaving it unanswered, I slipped the phone back into my pocket. Nora's fresh script had already made its way to me. A sweeping narrative tracing 3 generations of women across half a century. Mavis mentioned it was already tracking as one of the most anticipated cinematic ventures for the coming year. Tapping the script open, I read the text emblazoned across the title page. "Dedicated to every woman whose story goes unseen. Your journeys deserve to be told." Outside, lights flickered across thousands of homes, and fireworks streaked up into the night sky. My thoughts suddenly turned back to that 17-year-old girl standing by the gates of Westbridge Film Academy. Back then, she possessed absolutely nothing, yet felt capable of achieving anything. Now at 33, I held the trophies, the critically acclaimed filmography, and the hard-won validation of the masses. But most precious of all, I had finally grown into the exact person that 17-year-old girl had always hoped to become.
This is Listening Novel. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you enjoyed today's story, please like and subscribe for more stories, and stay tuned for what's next.